Well, welcome back to the afternoon session of the second edition of the Smart Built Environment Forum. This afternoon is dedicated to the PropTech vertical, which is sponsored by Urbanize. Now, we have some very interesting sessions ahead of you this afternoon, but quick reminders, use Google Chrome and Safari for best results. Do check out the menu bar to explore the meeting opportunities and make use of the event feed to share your thoughts on the discussions that you've attended so far, or even just drop your e-visiting card as well. And if you want to tag us on social media, do use the hashtag SBEF 2021. So let's begin with the first session this afternoon. Here we're exploring the impact of sensors and IoT and connected network has had on the user experience. Let me quickly introduce the panel to all of you. We have with us Dr. Marzia Bolpagni. I hope I got that right. She's the digital transformation expert and the head of BIM International Associate Director at Mace in London. Here, she develops and implements the digital construction and strategies for international clients using digital engineering and is passionate about digital transformation for the built environment. We also have with us Mr. Mick Riley. He is the founder and MD of RGI-Consult and has over 20 years in the built environment sector. Having trained in the UK and moved to the UAE in 2008, Mick has been involved in delivering world-renowned projects across Europe, the Middle East, and the subcontinent. He has experience in the whole building lifecycle from design, conception, construction, project management, building operation, refit, as well as decommissioning. Also joining this panel is Mr. Anilesh Kumar. He is the technology entrepreneur and EVP business applications and founder of InTWO. InTWO is an RIB and a Schneider Electric company delivering leading full service managed service provider for Microsoft Azure and critical business application for over 2 decades. An engineer by background, he has incubated Yekutech, which is a firm focused on customer engagement solutions for consumer-oriented businesses. And last but not the least is our moderator for this session, Mr. David Glennon, the Digital Delivery Director at the Red Sea Development, a closed joint stock company wholly owned by the Public Investment Fund, Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund. He oversees the development and the implementation of new and innovative digital delivery techniques set along the Red Sea. Now, bringing more than 25 years of experience in the construction industry, he oversees the use of pioneering technology and introduces automation and data-driven insights, design and assembly, and enabling the smart destination strategy to enhance customer experience. So before I hand over the discussion to Mr. David, viewers, please note that you can post in your questions in the chat box. So do let us know who you're addressing the question to, and our panel will take them on accordingly. And we do have the event feed, as I mentioned before. So do, can move the discussion out there. If you have any comments or feedback, do post it out there. Thank you so much. And over to you, Mr. David.
Thank you, Meka. So what we'll be doing will be building on some of the sessions that we had earlier today, and we're really going to be focusing on the user experience. So just as a reminder, hopefully you've seen this in the marketing information. The sort of exam question, as it were. So we've got sensors, the Internet of Things, and network capacity has enabled the number of connected things to rise, and that market has grown from just under $4 billion in 2015 to $25 billion in 2020. Post the onset of the pandemic, the built environment has more than embraced many of these solutions that are now available in the market. And what we're going to do on this panel is to explore how this huge growth can and has enhanced user experience. And I think from the Red Sea Development Company perspective, the user experience really is key. So for us, the user experience is customer experience. And that really has a direct impact on the satisfaction that people are going to get when they come to our destination. So obviously for us, it's very high up on the priority list. But what I'd like to do first is open it up to the panelists. We've got quite a diverse group, and I'll ask them just to introduce themselves, their role, the organisation that they work for, and then perhaps some opening remarks on this topic. So how about if we start with you, Dr. Marzia?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the invitation, and nice to meet all of you today. So I'm Marzia Bolpagni, as has been said at the beginning. I work for Mace. Mace is an international construction and consultancy company operating in 5 different international hubs, including also MENA. We have been working in projects such as Opera District, the Dubai Expo, and many others. And as part of my role, I'm head of BIM International. So I help international clients to develop their strategies and to implement processes as new technologies. As we know, and probably when we think about the user experience, the technology is really important, but we needed to link back to the processes and policies. So that probably is my remark. So when we think about the user, we need to focus on the technology, but also to make that effective for the company. And besides working for Mace, I'm also involved in other initiatives in the UK as part of the UK BIM Alliance, and also part of the BIM Excellence initiatives and other also groups, and trying to link the industry with academia. So nice to meet you again, everyone.
Very good. Thank you, Marzia. Anilesh, would you like to go next?
Absolutely, David. Thank you for the invitation again, and nice meeting everybody on the panel and everybody listening in as well. As was introduced, I head business applications for a company called InTWO. InTWO is part of RIB and Schneider Electric. So we are under the umbrella of Schneider Electric, who has a big focus on sustainability as a topic that again has a big play into user experience. In my role, I look at deploying technology on the cloud for different industries, and real estate is a critical industry for us. We work with a lot of developers, brokerage houses as well, to deploy technology and see how they can serve their customers better. I also play a role in a company called Yegatech, where we look at customer journey very closely. And customer journey for a long time has been synonymous with B2C. So it's been retail, aviation, etc. But now there is a very important play in terms of customer journey for the tenant or the homeowner as well. And that again has a lot of synergy with what we're going to talk about today. And my opening comment is that within the last 18 months or so, we've seen 2 things happen. We've seen IoT and cloud really go up in terms of acceleration. Whether it's adoption by companies, adoption by users, it's really gone up. And the other side is that we've seen that the user needs have changed dramatically because of predominantly, I would say, the needs of social distancing, let's say. So these 2 aspects have married together and created a new environment. And you overlay that with Generation Z coming in. I'm a millennial, so it's a little bit of a different world out there now. And we need to see what that means for the world going forward. And I'm happy to discuss that through this panel today.
Thank you, Anilesh. I appreciate that. And finally, Mick.
Thank you, David. Yes, I'm Mick Riley. I'm owner and manager of RGI-Consult, which we formed about 3 years ago. Excuse me. And we focus on the built environment, and really, in reference to the topic today, what we do is, try and bridge the gap between and help clients bridge the gap between what the client wants or the developer wants and what the end user is really going to want, because what we find is that's the biggest divide, and that's where a lot of solutions fall down. Is that disconnect between the end user and the actual specifiers. We actually work across the board. We focus on MEP as well as operational. So we take let's say a global look at the built environment and really try and understand and help developers and our clients to maximize efficiencies, maximize building strategies and efficiencies in construction, but as well as maintenance in solutions, again, prop tech, in processes and in deployment. So that's really what we do. But to answer the first point you made there, David, is with the advent of more cost-effective digital technologies and connected technologies, it can be a death by a thousand data points, and really it's what we find is you can be drowned in data, and to have that correct end user experience, you need to really understand what you're trying to achieve and then build that around. So whether it's building efficiency, so it's more focused as your end user is going to be the building maintenance and building management team, or if it is, as we're seeing now, tenants, owners within multi-occupancy buildings, or both the management and the tenants and occupants, then that's really where the deployment of any strategy needs to be tailored to that point. Because if you get that wrong at the beginning, the system will ultimately become redundant, because there is no uptake in usage and no engagement in the system, in the technologies that which you can deploy.
All right, very good. Thank you, Mick. I like that, death by a thousand data points. So we've got some questions to get the conversation going. But for those that that are listening in, again, I'd encourage you to ask some questions through the Q&A. It'll be much more interesting for the panelists to have to think very quickly. But to kick it off. Look, we've witnessed a change in how people live their lives in the last couple of years, and that's had a profound impact on the way people on things people have taken for granted up until now. So things like your house, how you travel, your workplace, and how we interact with others. And as a result, in people's expectations and how they've changed, how do you think these have driven a shift in expectations on user experience? So someone likes to take that one up?
So maybe I can.
I'll jump in on that one.
Go on, mate.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry to jump in there. No, I think the expectation is high. Obviously, we live in a very mobile and digitized environment where everything is immediate. You have Uber for immediate, vehicle, ordering, and you've got Uber Eats, and you have Deliveroo and all these platforms which have made life so much easier, and instant gratification for what your needs are. And I think if you're looking at the consumer side of the end users, ourselves being stuck in our own residences for the last year or so with the COVID pandemic, then there's that focus and that utilization has increased. So any technology that is rolled out for the built environment, that's the expectation, and ultimately there's always a lag between the requirement and delivery of a solution or whatever is required from the built environment platform. And that's really where the engagement side is probably the challenge that we need to address, is how do we bring parity to those other platforms which are purely consumer driven. Sorry, over to you, Anilesh.
Thanks, Mick. Yeah, Anilesh.
Thank you, Mick. And that's absolutely right. With Uber, with the digitalization of so many services that we consume, the expectation of the individual or the human is real time, right? So whether it's ordering your lunch, or reacting to a climate event, or getting your lighting right without having human intervention, I think the expectation is digitized now, and that extends to how you live in your house, or how you work in your office, or how you utilize an airport, right? And that's where technology is playing a role. Beyond that, I would say two things that come to mind as, let's say, emergent trends that we see are, one obviously is health and wellness, right? With what we've seen over the period of the pandemic, there is an increased awareness for people to really look at health and wellness closely. The way we treat ourselves has changed in a lot of ways. Even looking at it personally, would we worry about social distancing, spatial usage 2 years back? Not so critical, right? We would have an office, and it would we would put X square meter against per person, and then we would utilize space accordingly. Now it's a very different thought process on how you would use a commercial location. How you visit a mall is very different today. So you look at visitor flow, You want to look at what time you enter, a hypermarket or a supermarket. So the use of space has changed dramatically with a health and wellness angle or a lens of health and wellness. And the other emergent trend that I think is increasingly important is sustainability. Again, we are seeing increasing awareness, increasing personal connection to the topic of sustainability. And that's impacting the way people behave, the valuations of properties, the technology that's being deployed to support sustainability. And I think a few years back, sustainability was, a glorified term. I don't think it's anymore, right? I mean, it's real. We're seeing the impact on the world, and it's becoming important for tenants or owners to look at, how their homes operate from a sustainability point of view. So I think these are again new areas that are going to become increasingly important as we go forward.
Yeah, if I can also add, I totally agree with what has been said before. So I think that the two main areas that really emerge are using the technology for health and safety, of course, for the health crisis that we have been living in the past years. And then the sustainability is also a big important topic. This is the elephant in the room, and that we need really to focus on that and to understand, okay, how our activities and our action have an impact in the environment. We know that the construction sector is responsible for the 40% of the carbon emission. So it is really a huge number if we compare with other industries. And so there is really a lot that we need to do in order to be able to measure and to make more informed choices. And so I think that as a user expectation, we really understand the power of the data that we can have, but then at the same time, how much is important to have also the quality of the data to then make use of that. So having structured information is not just collecting the information, but then as we were discussing before, to use that. And probably also an emerging also trend is regarding the security aspect. Is something that probably we will discuss also later on, because if the digital, let's say, environment is gaining more importance and relevance, then also we need to rethink about also some rights and the way that we use those information. So I think that, as a summary, I think that health and safety, sustainability, security has been emerging trends. And probably also maybe something that we discussed also later on is well-being as well, that is somehow linked to health and safety. So we understood that technology can help to facilitate some tasks and to reduce waste. For example, having training we can do online without traveling, and there is something that we can do remotely. We can control sites remotely without going every day, especially for some activities. Of course, others you need to be in place, but others can be done remotely. But at the same time, we are social people, and so it's so important, this human element. So the challenge in the future is also user experience, how we can combine technology and to have these hybrid approaches, especially when we will go back and there will be people that will meet in person and others will be remotely. I think that is the current challenge, in how we can then combine these different aspects.
Very good. Thank you. And yeah, so just reflecting on some of the things that were mentioned there, and certainly some bits absolutely resonate with me, but the sort of like, there's a couple of bits of expectation there. One's on the technology capability. So having that Uber experience where you've got, immediacy and convenience comes to your life. And then also that sort of a change with, what's going on in society. So things like health and safety becoming important, environment becoming important. or more important. And certainly from a Red Sea development company perspective, where we've got, goals around, being pioneers in sustainable development and, leaving a net positive impact on the environment, anything that we can do to bring that forward to, the guests or the visitors that come to the resort, immediately that then starts to provide us business benefits as well. So building on that then, how do you think that this change has driven opportunities in the prop tech sector? Are there any areas that have been created or where we have seen growth that's been accelerated by that change in user expectations? Would someone like to start? I can pick someone. Dr. Marzia, would you like to start?
I will continue. I think that is a, I think that future opportunity, I think that is, as we were mentioning, I think that the sustainability is, of course, one important topic, and there are so many areas where the technology can help to understand the impact that we have. Another, I think, area where that it is emerging is regarding the value, how we can deliver value also using technology, and how we can understand the complexity that we are creating and dealing with in the construction sector, because everything that we build or that we refurbish and so on has an impact in our society. And is important to better understand the value that we are creating. Also, as Mace, during this year, we created our new strategy and the purpose to redefine the boundaries of ambitions, and that are focused on different priorities. And one is, of course, the sustainability, deliver the distinctive value to our clients. And grow together with the supply chain and in the communities. So I think that what is these experiences is bringing new possibilities. I think that is again understanding how we can measure the value of what we create. It is not just the physical asset, but it is much more, for the environment, for the communities that we work with, and so on. And so there is a lot of things that technology and prop tech can really do to improve this area. And as I said, the sustainability, there are so many areas that is not just the embodied carbon or operational carbon. There are so many different aspects, and it's so is still difficult to understand, is better this choice or another. So to do a sort of optioneering and to understand how one action is then have an impact in the long-term life cycle. So I think that there is still a lot, and not just the building, but also the infrastructures that have so a wider impact. So I think that is another important topic to reflect on.
Thank you, Marzia.
So if I may continue from Dr. Marzia, David, I think absolutely. I think what's happening is that PropTech is bringing forth differentiators for the real estate players, right? So real estate is quite significantly commoditized by location. So valuations are driven by location and to a certain degree by quality and reputation. Now you have differentiation coming through services, value-added services, which are mostly backed by technology. One of the most obvious ones that we see today is maintenance, which traditionally was manual, operated over the phone, maybe sending emails. Now you have a tenant portal, you have automated IVR responding. Potentially people fixing issues without really needing to come to your physical location. So that's a very, let's say, early technology use case that we are seeing. That itself can grow quite heavily. So, since we work with Microsoft, for example, there is a tool called Remote Assist, for example. So You can use augmented reality to run through how to fix a simple technical problem without having a technician to actually visit your home or office, and the whole thing can be simulated over augmented reality, and you can connect the way we are connected over Zoom. You would connect over Teams and walk through the whole fixed process. So these are now real situations and real solutions and real value addition for the end user from an experience standpoint, and also I would say a strong differentiator, right? So and today's user or consumer also is highly interested in looking at what technology you offer, whether you're buying a car, you're buying a home. They're very interested in what's the technology layer, right? I mean, just taking the analogy of a car, you like how people would potentially compare engine performance. Today, you're as interested to understand, how much technology is there in your potential car, and the same applies to your home today. And I think that's what we're seeing, and the use cases of technology to differentiate will keep increasing. And I think there is significant potential for sustainability itself to be productized in many ways in the area of technology, yet to be explored, in my opinion. And obviously, there are robotics, there is use cases of AI, maintenance itself going towards predictive, and you fix before the problem occurs. These are all eventually aspects that will bring convenience to the end user.
Very good.
Yeah, just to add to that, I mean, I think as opportunities, I think we've seen in the recent probably 18 to 24 months is I think there's been a lot of development in the smaller developers, really chomping at the heels of the kind of the legacy like service providers and technology providers such as Urbanize, our sponsor on this discussion, FSI, Yardi. These are the go-to established companies, but there's so many more that are coming up thick and fast now that are populating the missed opportunities from either price point or functionality, whether it's a wide breadth of functionality or a very focused functionality. There's a huge swathe of opportunities there for small portfolios, single properties or multi-property portfolios, campuses that can be rolled out. So it really is a wide and almost daunting choice as far as what is available from a technology platform. Similarly, from a hardware implementation platform, we're working with a huge number of small development companies now that are building hardware solutions which address a lot of the issues that we want to know about, the maintenance, the sensory feedback, etc. Where the larger companies, the legacy companies that have been previously in BMS and eBMS, aren't able to mobilize as quickly with these developments. Obviously, they've got a much larger market that they can present their solutions to, but they're slow-moving beasts compared to the new solutions. And really, the psyche of a lot of consumers, both from the business B2B and B2C, they see the technology advances in the consumer market in connected IoT devices, and they see the legacy and the business side moving much slower. So these smaller companies are really taking the opportunity to go, actually, we can do this, we can do that, whereas the big names can't do that as rapidly. And the development cycle is so much faster now, where that is a great opportunity for smaller organizations and startups. Just one more thing to add to that. I mean, we're talking about obviously like your development, David, the Red Sea, brand new developments. So there's great opportunities on new developments to institute modern technologies and modern solutions. But and going back to the point about the motor industry, again, I think we're on the cusp of a huge kind of a disruptive change in many technologies of the construction sector. Just like Tesla did with viable EVs. EVs have been around for a long while, but Tesla made it the zeitgeist, and now every motor manufacturer is moving over there. Slightly different for the built environment, where we don't build buildings to last 5-10 years as vehicles do. We're looking at 25, 50 years, however long we want a building to last. So the movement there is much slower, and we don't generally refurbish cars, modern cars, but we do buildings. And I think there's a huge opportunity, and a lot of new companies are looking how they can provide cost-effective solutions to modernize existing buildings without having to absolutely gut the building, because the cost and the budget just isn't there. So these are the opportunities that we're seeing. And I think just like ourselves, when we work with clients, we try and blank our minds as far as conceptual blue sky sessions, think about nothing about what's on the table that's currently there. And we see that with a lot of these new startups. You know, sit down with a client and go like, what would you like to achieve? And just brainstorm, whether it's an hour, whether it's a whole day, just come up with ideas and go, this is our master plan, this is what we'd like to achieve. Now, what's existing that we can use to make that work? And then what are the gaps that are missing? And I see a lot of companies doing that. And I think it's a very exciting time with new opportunities that you go, like, oh, actually, that's either reinventing something that's already been there and redistributing and redeploying, or somebody's come up with a totally new solution and you go, that's fantastic, that's groundbreaking. So there's been, I think, a massive step change in the last couple of years.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Mick. Yeah, so certainly in those answers, I heard a bit around sustainability, but that was interesting. Obviously, there's a feeling that there's an opportunity for differentiation around value-added services. That there's a real business imperative there. I quite like the idea of the smaller developers coming through, and it sounds like there's a change in the market about to happen. Okay, so let's be a bit more specific then on the user experience that. The benefits that prop tech can bring. And so this is potentially a tricky one. So what examples have you witnessed success in this area? And even harder, have you found ways to effectively measure that as well?
I'll jump in there if you don't mind.
Please.
It's this is the make or break of any solution and any prop tech implementation. And one kind of I say mantra that I use is like, a client will never tell you what they want, but they will tell you what they don't want. So really laying out and really drilling down to what they want by giving them options and say, like, we're going to do this, or this, and they go, I quite like that, but no, I don't want that. And you have to go through multiple rounds of that to really get down to the nuts and bolts of what the client wants to do. Again, as I said earlier, whether it's purely building management, purely facility management, or it's tenant and occupant, and what that user experience is going to be. And each of them are different as well, because from a business functionality, you're putting the tools in the hands of your employees, and they can adopt, there should be a business imperative to adopt it. But we've also seen where there's a resistance to adopting digitization, because there's a view that I'm going to lose my job. It's the company streamlining, reducing overheads, reducing manpower on this particular project. Why should I use it? Because it's going to cost me my job potentially. So it's really about the companies incentivizing their staff to take up the tools that are being presented and saying, this is not going to cost you your job, but what it's going to give you is a wider breadth of skills, wider breadth of responsibility. We can take on more buildings as a property manager, let's say, without having to increase our workforce. So it's really making your workforce understand why they are using that. On the flip side to that, what we see is from a tenant or an occupant, you have to build a solution that they will want to engage with, because you've got no incentive to make them engage with it unless it's actually providing content or providing an interface that they want to continually engage with, like Facebook or Twitter or whatever. That it's naturally creating a connection with the end user. But the end user will not be incentivized to use something they don't want to use, whether it's an app, because they'll still go, okay, I'm just going to phone the building manager because that's what I've always done, and bypass that process and basically render it useless, as an example. But if you have cross-platform integrations where you can raise a ticket on an application, or you can raise a ticket through WhatsApp, or you can raise a ticket through Facebook or Instagram. All these connected technologies and social media connected technologies, are connected into your platform as far as interacting with the kind of the domestic user or the tenant. That's really where the kind of wins are, because you're not saying you have to use this, because you will get people go, I don't use that, so I don't want to use that. And those are the real challenges in getting the right solution that will be adopted, in my view. how you address them.
Very good. Okay. Anilesh, Marzia, so which areas have you witnessed success, and have you found a way to measure it?
So
Yeah, you can start.
Thank you, Dr. Marzia. So David, two things that we see, as we work with real estate organizations that they have pivoted towards in terms of how they want to use technology, how they want to impact user experience, right? So one is the need to know the owner or the tenant or the buyer, so there is a far more increased interest to really know, who is my target audience and who is my eventual customer, right? And match that customer to the right product. And then, and within the product, again, you have the value added services. So what more can I do with my customer, which in some ways is upsell and is also increasing satisfaction, right? So you're meeting the demand of the customer beyond just giving a unit or renting or selling out space. So that goes down to having intelligent CRM journey, where you're able to capture the right data, you have intelligence behind it, so you're able to match preferences, you're able to predict customer behavior in certain scenarios. So that, I think, is definitely an area that I think most of the organizations that we speak to have a very keen interest in. And sometimes it's the customer of the customer. So for example, if it's a shopping mall, the shopping mall wants to understand not only the tenant, but they also want to see how the footfall or the visitors to the shopping mall are behaving, and how can you increase the service level / offerings that you can bring forth to the visitors, which in turn helps the tenants in the shopping mall. So that's, let's say, one key area that we see as a use case coming up. And the other, again, is at the end of the cycle measuring satisfaction, right? And that's to your point on how is satisfaction measured. So I would say for a long time, tenant satisfaction was not top of mind for a lot of organizations. Now it is, as the journey becomes more important and you are investing in the direction of satisfaction and value-added services, it becomes very important for the real estate organization to understand how are actions impacting the end consumer or the tenant, and how can you optimize that, how can you augment it. And so there is a keen interest to gain voice of the customer, see Net Promoter Score of the tenant to improve the internal process at real estate organizations. So these are two elements that we see very clearly.
Thank you. Marzia?
Yeah, so a lot to say here, really. I think that one thing that we notice that so as a company, we are moving from construction to production. We are also investing a lot on the modular platform approach. And we notice that these combined with the technology really can give enormous advantage in the market. So we have been implementing this in different projects in the UK and also abroad. And you can see that usually using a modular approach that can, and still, this can help you to improve the safety on site, but also the final outcome. For example, increasing in the space that the final user can have. We have 9% more of area, usable area that can be used, because in advance we have been studying different options and then compare the traditional way of working with the use of technology to then combine and then to study more different, for example, layout and so on. And this can help to reduce the risk, because we know that our sector is well known for having is a risky sector. There are a lot of factors, so this can help you to reduce the time that you finish your your assets, and then you can start the operation. So I think that as what we be able to measure is 20% less material, less waste, less labor. As also Mick has been said, that is not then that the technology or this approach is then reducing the the people that are on site, but those people can be used for other projects. So then you can increase your business. So is really an opportunity to get more work. So we have really we were able to measure these benefits compared with the traditional and other project and different packages that we were delivering. So that is really a combination of different way of working, different procurement, different business models. And if we focus for a second also regarding the procurement and the contracts in general, I think that is a long-term relationship between the different parties that are not just the design and the construction, but also later on with the operation, is also asking to how we monitor better, how we use the space, having more attention for the material. So there is this topic that has been in the industry for quite a lot of those performance contracts. So actually we promise to be outcome driven, so that during the time to be able to deliver based on some outcomes. So in that case, if we base our price not just on the final product, but of the performances of our product, this is completely changing the perspective. And so is where technology really can help to monitor those performances. So is also I see more also clients that they start also to asking for that, and then is also our work is to adapt and to find better solutions to answer to these needs.
Very good, thank you, Marzia. Okay, all right, a slight change of pace now. I'll pick up on something Anilesh brought up, and that was around the trying to predict customer behavior, or even the customer of the customer, because that does then bring some other concerns. And well, just before I do that, if any last questions coming in from the audience, probably get the last chance to get any more questions in, because we are running out of time. But to time back to that customer question, does the use of data tied to a user bring about any ethical concerns for the organization or the user, especially with regards to privacy? So someone fancy taking that one on?
Yeah, I can start. I think that is a topic that for me is very important. Has been also investigating this in the past year, also with experts on artificial intelligence, in order to understand the ethical impact of the use of those technologies, because we notice in other industries besides the construction how the use of those technologies had an impact and changed the behaviors of people. So we know that, for example, Cambridge Analytica, how different algorithm selected some profiles based on previous data. So there are some biases in we know that I think that some people sometimes don't realize, but technology is not neutral because it's created by humans. So, and most of the time, if we think about that some technology is based on past experience, then there is the risk that we continue to work in a specific way because it's based on historical data. So I think that here we have a responsibility. Also, if you think about image recognition, also, for example, can have a benefit to monitor behaviors and to improve the way that people use the space and to provide different services. But at the same time, I think that companies need to think about how we can do in an ethical way, because so far we have been fighting a lot for the human rights. But I think that in the last years, I see a trend in fighting for our data rights, because we know that our phone is a microphone. They are listening to us. I think that all of you happen that you will be speaking about a specific place, and then immediately pop up as an advertisement. You say, but I didn't search for that. How did you know that I was interested on that? So I think that the more we are using those new technologies in the construction sector, also we need to think about how we can do in an ethical way, because our clients are already asking this, but more and more they will ask about that. So I think that it will be a game changer if we are solving and find solution to this as soon as possible. Then we will be in a better place.
Fascinating. Thank you, Marzia. Anilesh, Mick, and any comments on this topic?
Yes, it is a very, I think it's a dichotomy that we have with privacy right now. The technologies that everybody uses and interacts with, that we are interacting with right now, it's all collecting information and data on all the users, whether it's social media or various email services, especially the free ones. And that's collecting, a huge number of data points on the usage profile of the individuals, and building digital profiles in the background to say, what are you interested in? And as Dr. Marzia mentioned, focused advertising is one of the key things, but what other clandestine activities can it be used for? So, and that's where information gathering is one thing, information integrity is another, and securing that information so it isn't hacked, and putting people's livelihoods, their personal lives, their health and safety at risk. How we address that, that is the big question, depending on what platforms and what technologies you use, what cloud-based solutions you use, and so on. I mean, we do get a lot of clients that are looking for more, more inward and locally hosted solutions rather than going to the cloud, because of the growing concerns about the safety of data, which is it's completely understandable. What is the answer to that? Don't know.
If I can just add very, very quickly, I think that probably most of you saw The Social Dilemma, but I think that there is a nice sentence where they say, if you are not paid for the product, you are the product. So I think that we'll use a lot of free application and so on, and then we realize, and they are so easy, makes our life better and so on. But then what about our data? How those information are used? And because then are used as a product for something else. So it is important that we are aware about that. I think that the first step is to be aware that this should be a topic to be discussed, and then when awareness is increased, then it will be also easier to find solutions.
David, if I may bring a technology view to it, one of the things that I think about is that IoT is going to increase, as Mick said, the data points that are going to come out of real estate specifically, because you're going to put all these sensors for different purposes, and then you can see different aspects of human/customer behavior through these data points. Now, it's not unique. Every industry is exposed to the risk of data privacy/cybersecurity. And the few things that I would say is that whether you're a small organization or a large organization, data governance, data policies need specific attention, and there needs to be a lot of let's say foresight in how you build out policies, because there's no magic wand that's going to solve this problem. So the only way to solve this is by policy making internally. And the second aspect, which is more for small and medium businesses, is that sometimes, because cloud is now more and more being adopted, a lot of times as a technology operator, I see that especially small and medium businesses believe that once they're on the cloud, they're more or less secure. This may not be the true situation all the time. Even if you're on the cloud, you need to do what you have to secure your own data. And that means having the right systems and having the right policies. And the real estate industry many times is a slow adopter of technology, but in this case, with IoT coming in, they really cannot afford to be slow in that adoption.
Very good, thank you. Okay, I've got about to get in trouble with the organisers because we're running out of time, but we'll do a quick fire round. It's crystal ball time, and I'll run through the screen here. We'll go to you first, Mick, then Anilesh, then you, Dr. Marzia. You've got 30 seconds each. But finally, in your opinion, what does the future look like? Have you spotted any new technologies, techniques or trends that you believe will have an impact on user experience? Okay, so when you go, Mick.
Oh, gee. I think it's the analytics, how analytics are used from every data point, which we haven't even seen yet. And more and more solutions are going to be coming around, looking at collecting data in different ways, which we can't even imagine yet. And we'll be leveraging the benefits of that for the foreseeable.
Perfect, 30 seconds.
So am I second, David? Or
go, Anilesh, yep.
I'm second, right? Right. So my point of view, David, is that I think the next feature or technology use that we will see is that we will see complete remote controlled use of technology to manage your house. So you could be wherever you are, but you're able to fully manage your house through a single console, single app, which means underlying integrated BMS, IoT, analytics being surfaced out of the app. So I think this is what will be the future, and that will put in a lot of power in the hands of the tenant to manage his living environment or working environment.
Oh, you're right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Marzia?
Yeah, I think that actually there are many, but I think that one is the control room that also as Mace, we are also working with other partners. So having the possibility, as Mick was said, also to do data analytics and to do prediction, so in an advanced way, thinking about other, aerospace and how they are monitors their project. And I think that technology such as blockchain can also help in the future. I think even if there is a lot of work to do in order to track and to understand who has been done what and when, so to have more certainty on different action. And last but not least, I think that the ethical thing that we're discussing before is managing information in a secure way, because I think that having this topic about digital twin, a lot of people think about that, but are we sure that we really want to have a digital twin of our house where someone else can do where we are in a different point of time when the house is empty or not? I think that if we want to do that is because we want that to be done in a secure way. So that is where I think that the technology is going, having the possibility to have a future, as Anilesh mentioned, but in a secure and ethical environment.
Very good. All right, thank you very much. Well, before Mega joins us again, I'll say thank you, Mick, Anilesh, and Marzia. That was, I thought that was quite good fun. So thank you very much.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Dr. Marzia.
Thank you, David. Bye-bye.